My name is Panos Prevedouros. I'm a professor of transportation engineering, and for the last couple of years I'm the chairman of the civil engineering department at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. In 2008 and 2010 I did run for mayor. One of our platform items was to essentially, stop the rail and do other things with all these billions of dollars, take care of our infrastructure. Unfortunately, it didn't come to pass, although both times I got about 20% of the vote, which was, as I joked at the time, more than enough to be mayor of Maui, but not nearly enough to be mayor of Honolulu. So this is okay. So that's all in the past. The best chance we had with the rail and transportation agenda was in 2012. Well, I helped Governor Cayetano in his Cayetano for Mayor campaign. Came close. He came, in the final election was Cayetano versus Caldwell, and Caldwell, of course, won. I'm afraid that a similar scenario will play also this year with, Dizu and Caldwell. The numbers don't look very good for Charles. He's about 7 points behind, so chances of him winning are, on the negative side. So we'll see. So today I'm going to give you a presentation, not Hawaii 5.0, Hawaii 8.5. That's when it starts, and then of course we're going to focus on traffic with the 3 8.5s, as I'm going to talk to you about, are about traffic, food, and energy, three very significant components of sustainability for our islands. So part one, let's talk about these big challenges. Hawaii 8.5, what am I talking about? How come this one? Oh, it doesn't show, it shows here. Okay, 85% of the people drive alone. 85% of the food is imported, not good. 85% of the electricity is not renewable, also not good. But unfortunately, the state of being, the state of government, seems to be making the wrong moves about these 85%. Although 85% of the people drive, the focus is on rail and bicycles. Each one is going to be about 1%. So we're spending billions for rail and lose lanes to bikeways to get from 85% to 83%. How does that make sense for $10 billion? We're fighting the automobile instead of getting in tune with the program. What is the program? We're going to talk about it. Result, by 2030, we're going to have tremendous congestion because essentially we threw all our transportation money to a boondoggle that not a lot of people are going to use. What is a reasonable action at this point? Stop the boondoggle at Middle Street, cut our losses, and then refocus on traffic congestion. This is what is coming. It doesn't matter if I say it or who says it. It has happened already. Google said it, Apple said it, Uber said it. I mean, these are the guys of the future. These are the technologies of the future. So they will win. It's a big market, automating essentially the transportation technology, making buses and trains obsolete, making car ownership obsolete. 85% of the food is imported. But what is so bad? That the government, starting with Abercrombie, went and railroaded the Alun Farms. Now Alun Farms is going to be 12,000 cookie cutter homes. That's Ho'opili, right? And of course Koa Ridge up in Mililani. The result is bad for agriculture. We're missing the prime agricultural land. Bad for rail because suburban homes don't generate enough riders for trains. They need towers like Hong Kong and New York. And bad for traffic congestion because more than 9 out of 10 of these people will drive. So it's a lose-lose. What is a possible action? Rescind the Ho'opili development and the Koa Ridge developments and require higher densities. If you want transit to succeed, you have to have density. With suburbanization, there is no hope for transit. 85% of the electricity is not renewable. We have, as a state, made some inroads about, solar and wind. But unfortunately, dealing with the intermittency, now you have wind, now you don't, gets very expensive when these things become big. And you need batteries which are ridiculously priced at this point. So from an engineering perspective, we don't have a solution. So all the stuff that you hear about Hawaii being 100% renewable by 2045, it's total unadulterated BS. Expanded H-power, it's good because now we have 3 giant boilers, and you know what our problem is? We don't have enough trash. A quick solution is bring some trash from Maui, because the container ships go there to give the goods to Maui and they come back empty. Get some of that trash. Trash is treasure. Trash essentially is low quality coal, but it's trash. We have the ability to burn it and make free electricity. Do it. In my opinion, geothermal is Pele's gift to your people. But unfortunately, the geothermal development was vilified due to poor leadership. By injecting essentially water into the ground, we're abusing Pele. I don't think so. Pele is happy. He's giving her people free electricity. That's how the New Zealanders developed geothermal, and the New Zealand, the Maoris, make a cut out of it. It's like, Bishop Estate, where people actually get benefits, such as, subsidized tuition at Kamehameha schools. So we can do a for-profit for indigenous people with geothermal. We can turn the thing around. We need to follow Iceland's lead, which essentially is 100% geothermal. So when you live on a volcano, you take advantage of the volcano, the same thing that Japan has done to a big extent. So let's switch to traffic now. My portion is called 20 minutes. Are this possible? Where if I was a mayor in 2008, now some of this will be possible because we have analyzed, and it's true. IEA to downtown in 20 minutes, Hawaii Kai to Makiki in 20 minutes, Kapolei to Iwilei in 20 minutes. Yes, we could have done that for less than the money we're spending for rail. If we did several of these. First of all, let me show you something that is indisputable. The Washington Post published it. This is analysis out of the best engineering school in the nation. What is the best engineering school in the nation? MIT. So out of MIT laboratory came these, which is the depictions of 3 big cities: Washington, D.C., San Francisco, and Chicago. They say, let's start at the center of town. That's a green spot, okay? And green represents walk. So every area that you see has a color, and it means the mode that takes me there, the fastest wins. So if you're very close to this point, of course, the quickest point to get to the pizza is walking. Taking a car to take you there is not going to be quick. So from this spot all around here, the green, walking wins. Then in DC, all this orange area is biking. If you're on a bike, you will get in all this faster than the car and faster than walking. All the red is car. Blue is transit, buses, and metro. You know how much we have spent in metro in Washington, D.C.? Over $38 billion already. And look at the payoff. Only in those places, the train beats the car or the bicycle or the walk. You want to go to Chicago? Look at it. Look at the train. Chicago has a historical system from the 1930s. The L, all the legs. Look at that one. He can take you down there to the airport maybe a little bit. San Francisco, BART, another $30 to $40 billion investment. Well, along the corridor here, yes, you get chance, but look at San Francisco. So I say things are car-oriented. Reality. Despite all the congestion they have, if you want to get here, from here, only the car will get you here the shortest time, despite all the congestion and all the events. Indisputable evidence out of the best analysis with no politics, no nothing. So we can wish whatever we want. Trains never win, even in places that they are a winning deal. Like San Francisco, so dense, so overbuilt, so congested. There's no roads in San Francisco. They don't even have an H1 in the middle of San Francisco. At least we have an H1 in the middle of Honolulu. It don't win. Bike has a chance if it's flat and, very dense. Okay, so these were my solutions. But several of them cannot be done already because, the train railroaded the paths that I was planning to do. And we could have had a chance for light rail, and that's also dead. There was one that we proposed it as research from the university, and it was actually done. At the end of the Abercrombie administration, they did it. This was my plan for hot lanes. Let's not spend too much time on that, but hot basic stands for high occupancy and tall. If you have a car stuffed with people, you can use the facility for free. If you want to go solo, you have to pay a toll. So you have both things. High occupancy, which is good because people crowd a car, you have good utilization. A bus goes for free. A taxi with 2 passengers goes for free. You want to drive alone? $3, $5. The other facility that some of the hot lanes have, like in Los Angeles and elsewhere, they have the ratcheting toll. In the beginning of the day, 5:30 in the morning, it's only 50 cents. It's empty. Come in, you're welcome. Around 7 o'clock, where it begins to get congested, the 50 cents goes to about $5 in Denver and about $9 sometimes in San Francisco. I don't want you on my tollway anymore. I have the toll very high because I don't want anymore. I want to have the freeway flowing for my buses and my carpools to go to town uncongested. So that's how the project looked in Tampa. A very successful one. As you see, you have the carpool vehicle, the bus, and of course the individual car. It's a 3-lane facility, reversible. So to town in the morning, out of town in the afternoon. They call it 6 lanes in 6 feet because it's like an umbrella that they put the foundation 6 feet wide. You'll see it over here. That's me there in 2005. And it's actually a county project. The county made it. So it wasn't a state authority or anything. And you know what? The county here, Oahu, has the ability to toll. The state does not. But the county is in the books. The ordinance is there. If I was mayor, I could build that and toll it. That's how it looks. That's why it's called 6 lanes and 6 feet. All you need is 6 feet for the foundations. And it looks like the same structure we have pretty much for the train, right? And it's reversible, as I said, to town in the morning, out of town in the afternoon. Look at the capacity of the facility. 12,000 people seated as opposed to the train, which at best is 6,000. So we are not really getting a high capacity system. In Tampa, they did get it. Oh, by the way, the amazing thing, guys. This thing for 10 miles, they built it. This is a real project. It opened in 2006. How much did they pay? $300 million. The paperwork for rail cost us more than $300 million. They got a solution built. Just the paperwork and the environmental studies cost over $300 million. No exaggeration. So various light rail projects that we could have done, but right now nobody's interested in doing that. Still, we can have from Middle Street all the way to town this light rail connector. Yeah, this is along Hart Street. The old Oahu Railroad used to go on Hart Street. In some places you can even see some of the rails there. There is only one impediment. This godforsaken building, this is the Xerox building. Remember Byron Wesugi? That's the one. It's the only one that was built in the middle of Hart Street. So we don't have a continuous corridor. We have to demolish this building. And this is, of course, the ORL that actually we still have the same path, and we could have a light rail system essentially from Nanakuli to the airport for about $1 billion. We could have got rail on the cheap. Nobody was interested in that. It seems that, in most governments, the bigger the cost, the bigger the benefit for them. So it's a game of politicians. Give me something expensive to do. I don't want to do an inexpensive solution. So here are the plans of potential solutions. Let's go through them pictorially. Middle Street. Yes, we did this, and actually right now it looks kind of funny to me because, simulation has become more sophisticated, but this is 1998. The H1 was a choke. Look how skinny it looks. But then we said, how about in the same right of way, you paint it as 4 lanes instead of 3. Today it's 4 lanes. It was done. We did it in 1998. It took the state about 10 years to finally do it. Pearl Harbor Ferry, it used to exist in the 80s, and you can have it like this. This is crossing the Amazon in Brazil, or you can have a very, very pretty ferry boat. But here you can almost see in my simulation the cars are waiting up there, and then the ferry crosses them and they come over here. What's the idea about this? Pearl Harbor. You have to do essentially 10 miles all around instead of this mini crossing. So that's the idea. It's really a non-brainer. If you want to be a little bit absurd about it, let's say theoretically we cut a tunnel through, it would be a 5.5 mile, and instead of spending almost an hour to go around, you can do it in 6 minutes. You can get from Eva Beach actually to town, most days is 90 minutes. You can get from Iroquois Point to downtown in about 6 minutes, if we had our act straight, right? And we can do tunnels. I mean, it's difficult, but for 10 billion, nobody wanted to do a tunnel because at the time they said, well, that thing is going to cost $5-6 billion. Look at the rail. It's 8.6 today. So, that's too expensive. We don't want that solution, right? Let's do the rail. We can afford that. We could have done this with nobody even talking about it. Everybody wants to do a tunnel here and then make a route through land, which is actually what we analyzed at the UH.
They could have even built the bridge cheaper.
The bridge is very difficult. Very difficult because of the naval operations. Yeah, and even the tunnel has to go extra deep, and it has to have special security because it's a very sensitive facility. But the politicians at the time, they said, no can do. National security. You can't put a tunnel close to a high sensitivity military facility. Are you kidding me? They have an entire interstate. This is the U.S. National Marine Base in Virginia. So are you kidding? The president is there. I mean, this is the cheapest lawsuit to file and win it because lawsuits are by president. Here's the president. An entire interstate, 4 lanes go. All we needed is 2 lanes going under. So anyhow, so the bottom line is that if we had built it, the 65 minutes that they had today through the tunnel would have dropped down to 11. Talking about solving congestion. 65 minutes from, as it says, Eva to Aloha Tower. Specific 2 points from Eva to Aloha Tower at Alakea Street. 65 minutes, 30 to 36 minutes by ferry. These are solutions that work. Here's the price point. They actually built it in Miami. Here's the tunnel. This is the idealized thing in the planning stage. This is the final project. It's completed. It opened in May 2014. That was the actual cost, $1.1 billion. There is no way it'll cost way much more here. And it's a much shorter span than they did in Miami. So it is very doable. Underpasses, they have them all over the world. This is a picture I took in Korea, Abu Dhabi, another one in DuPont Circle in the nation's capital. This is a complex intersection we have. Kapiolani, Gate, and Kamoku. Around here is the Iolani School. So we simulated that. It's chock full of traffic in the morning. You put in 1 lane underpass and traffic disappears. That's how traffic solutions work. You solve the problem. You need to have traffic flow. So the simulation shows you that it will work. So Governor Cayetano loved that idea and says, okay, where else can we use them? And we did an analysis and we showed that here is the intersection I just showed you, Date Street, this is Makali, and Kalakaua. If we put 3, then Kapiolani becomes a nicely flowing facility until it splits to Atkinson and Kapiolani, and then, traffic continues way better instead of backing up all the way to university. Again, small investments, big payback. All of these things cost about 15 to 50 million, which compared to the rail, we're talking about peanuts in terms of public investments. Piling Vineyard, here are all the folks coming from Kailua trying to get to town. This is an existing situation where, as you see, all the lights are red, and now all of a sudden this turned green, and look at the traffic jam. Again, you put in 1 lane underpass per direction like that. Where did traffic go? It went. Because what happens is that this is 100% green. So they pile and they go along, and because now you give them this, you cut down some of their green and you give it to the other direction, so it becomes a win-win all around. So the entire intersection works way better. That's what $20 million will do. Yes, it'll be 3 months of suffering when you have the construction, But compare the construction we had with the rail that's going to last 10 to 15 years. What is 3 months per location?
You think they could do it in 3 months?
Yeah, you can do a lot of prep, and then in 3 months you can. But it's only the square of the intersection is when you hit the actual middle of it. You can do the prep on the sides, but then only the actual box will take a lot of time because and even then you can do half the way, one half the second half. So you only close half of the street at the time. Quite a few places have done cut and cover tunnels like that. It's not a big deal. It is disruptive, but not really for overwhelming. This is the Nimitz Viaduct, where essentially this is Nimitz Highway, and this is the 3 lanes overhead and 1 lane peeling off here at Guaya Camilo. This can still be built and decongest the flow to town. One of my expertise is setting the traffic lights correctly, which is exactly the opposite of what is going on in Honolulu. So if we could cut just 5 seconds from the average stop time that we have now at the traffic lights, we will reduce every year 7 million gallons of fuel, and essentially it's like reducing traffic by 14,000 cars just by tinkering the traffic lights 5 seconds. There is a big difference between what Hilo does and what Honolulu does. The Hilo guys are on top of the traffic lights. I've done a lot of projects with them, and they are very open to ideas. These guys here is a completely different situation. Most of the time, they're busy approving parades rather than fixing traffic lights. It's a strange cabal that we have in DTS. We can have, an upgraded bus system. This is an example of the College Express, connecting UH, HPU, and HCC with express buses with limited stops, so our students can go around and share. This is a very popular scheme, as you see by the name of Miles. It's called Bus on Shoulder in Minnesota. And why not have express buses on the shoulder? Most of our shoulders are sitting unutilized, except for the central part of the freeway that now it's 5 lanes. The rest of it has shoulder. You cannot open it to the general traffic for safety, but your express buses can be there. Boom. Pearl City to town, instead of 45 minutes, 20 minutes. That's how you begin to gain bus ridership. Why can they do simple things like that? This is almost a zero cost option. And we do have a very active, very large bus system. Why not? I mean, it begs the question. This is the detailed routing. We can talk at another time.
Take ridership away from rail.
Well, yeah, but we've been having already the bus for a long time. So, yeah, that's the unfortunate thing. We have one of the most successful bus systems in the nation, and we're cannibalizing it. That's the plan for the future. 30 routes will be cut or truncated because if you intersect the train, you're done. Your route is done. And
intimate to me
Yeah.
while riding with them that money has been taken from the
That's
bus
right.
system to consolidate bus routes to make them, make 2 separate independent routes into one very long route because they took the money to buy rails.
That's right. And actually, Carlisle tried a lot of that, and then Caldwell had to backpedal and restore many of them because the public has familiarity. The public will be shocked
People thought
when the rail becomes operational because the routes they were familiar with, no more. It stops at the train station, then you have to take the train and catch another bus at the other end to finish your trip. So trips to Waikiki, for example, will get very complicated. You will have to transfer, take the train to Ala Moana, and then catch another bus to continue to Waikiki. All these transfers and all, people will lose time instead of gaining time. So very quickly, we could add lanes, particularly with contraflow like we have on Kapiolani. We can do that on other streets. We call that the fast lane system with Caetano. You can even improve capacity in our Honolulu with not a lot of expense by 50% in the morning and 60% in the afternoon with contraflows on Nimitz and Dillingham. Again, they're not doing any of that. We can go all out, and I'm about to conclude. They did this in Paris, and they're considering it for Los Angeles. A single tunnel. The H3 actually is 3 tunnels. The utility tunnel they built in the middle, and then the 2 car tunnels that we drive every day if you use the H3. This one is one tunnel, does everything. So it's a double-decker. You cannot take trucks there, but you can do custom buses. So the vehicles have to be kind of squished. But with a single tunnel, you solve the problem. Where can we apply that? One way to apply that is University to Pali Highway in Oahu. Basically, all that part of the H1 that is choke congested and the Punahou and everything. Everybody from University area and anywhere east that wants to go to Kailua and places, windward side, will take the tunnel. So 30% of the traffic will disappear from the H1 freeway, and same in the other direction. So you move 30% of the traffic off, essentially you gain an empty lane, so you have a lot of congestion reduction. Okay, what's the next thing that comes in transportation? Let's spend a couple of minutes here. That's the next thing. Look what he's doing. He's not driving. The computer is driving. Driverless cars are here. She is busy, but not with driving. She has, other important things to do.
You took that last week on the H1.
What's that? Yeah, I did that. No. So here is the famous Google Koala. Cars that they have done, tens of thousands of miles, driverless in California. This is the truck of the future, where the driver is resting, but you need a driver for what is called the first and the last mile. When you get inside the city, you don't want the computer to take advantage. They cannot maneuver a semi, but in the open road, they can. And actually, this is the absolute very first, very real, licensed in Nevada, this Mercedes or Freightliner. Mercedes owns Freightliner. This Freightliner truck is running like that in Nevada today. No driver. It's driving itself in the open road. The funny story about one of these koalas is that at some point, the koala decided, that's the cute name for the car, the Google Koala, it decided to kind of go conservative. So in a 35 speed limit, it was doing 25 to 30 miles an hour. But when the speed limit is 35, everybody's doing 45. So there was a big line behind it. People called the police. There is a blockage. So the police goes there, stops the car, then what? Here's the car. There's nobody in it. How do you ticket a car with no? What do? You start talking to a car? Why are you doing 25? Come here. It's a little, so some of the issues are complicated. This is a sales picture from Mercedes. Essentially, bored people having a meeting and the Mercedes is taking them to their next destination. They don't have to deal with driving it. This is today in Singapore. You can take completely autonomous minibuses in the campus. The buses will take you wherever you're going, and of course, very low speeds. MIT said in 2013, don't rush. But even MIT was caught by surprise. 2013. Oh, maybe not. This one is 2016. The Tesla Autopilot wins an MIT award. They did it. They're almost there. And in August, I present that to my students. And yesterday, Elon Musk said that, every Tesla will have the autopilot. So this is really happening. In August, says Uber is going to start giving you rides in completely automated Ford cars. People laughed. They said, okay. Then, Nutonomy in Singapore actually did it. They beat Uber. Last week they got their first accident and it wasn't nice. They actually hit a pedestrian real bad. That was bad for their vehicle and they rushed the software. But here it is. I told you August, September 14. All the Uber cars, 25 of them, are now operational in Pittsburgh, providing people rides without a driver. Very real. So what's the business model? An early feature that you could buy for the last 2-3 years is auto park. Basically, you arrive at a big parking lot, such as the airport, and you tell the car, bye-bye, go park yourself. I'm going to take my flight. Okay? So the car goes park, and what is the big difference with the auto park? They park 2 inches apart because you don't have to get in the car or out of the car. 2 inches apart instead of 2 feet apart. What does it mean? Well, if that technology catches in the next 5-6 years, look what it means just for the UH. Our parking structure capacity will go from 5,000 to 6,000. Just because of that technology, UH makes $5,000 more a day out of parking. Why UH wouldn't support that? It's free money. In the same space, you can park 1,000 more cars, make more money. Why own more than one car with an app? You call a car for, you always, families need to have a car. Sometimes you need long trips, you need to go to the beach. You cannot do Uber at the beach. But we're getting accustomed to having a second and a third car. You don't need that. Back to the tradition of having one family, one car, because Uber will offer you similar services, 50 cents a mile. Even if you have a cheap car, you cannot do less than 70 cents a mile. So people will, the dollars and cents will come and say, why have it? And most people realize that their car is a very large investment. And you know what? 22 hours a day just parked. That's what kills me. I like cars. I have a good car. I used to race cars. 22 hours a day. I don't have time to drive it. I don't have anything to do with it. It's just sitting and basically wasting. Much lower ownership. That's the other thing. Free up the parking lots. Now all of a sudden we don't need to own all these cars. Right? So you open up space. More places for development. Every time you say development, that means money. Frees up a lot of parking lanes, frees up large parcels for redevelopment. So the business model is there. This automation, once anything in technology means cha-ching, people are incentivized. There is a payoff in a few years. So, what about traffic congestion? Well, if we could have automated cars overnight, they can do everything right. They can drive very close to each other in all directions, and basically, or our 2-lane roads can become 3-lane roads. I increased my capacity by a lot. Well, there's a lot of things, and our time is short. But solved. Are we done with that? No, not that easy, unfortunately. Reality catches in. Technology is not perfect, as always. It needs time to develop. Performance, again, they can't work well in snow. They can't work well in ice. They have problems at night because of halos and lights, very dark pedestrians. So there is still technology issues and safety. Then there is the big one, perception. Is everybody willing to take them? Sure, a lot of people, they are very ready to adopt technology. Top 10%, 20%, 30%. But not 90% of the people. Most people, I don't think they are very ready to go drive in a car that doesn't have anybody in command. The koala car, you get in and you tell him, Hawaii Kai, or a specific address in Hawaii Kai, and it takes you. Are you ready for that? Then we're going to have union issues. Oh my God. I mean, all the buses automatically, they don't need it because buses have very predictable routes. And as you get a little more, into it, all your garbage trucks can be automated. Taxi drivers and all. So you'll kind of have union issues. Legal issues, and of course, everything when it has business, money, and changes, is a lot of politics. So it's going to be a bumpy ride. But then you have strong supporters like the Googles, the Apples, the Microsofts, all the software companies. Which way is it going to go? Well, like everything in industry, it can go 3 ways. The Newton, you remember the Newton? You don't remember the Newton? No, it fizzled. One of Apple's hugest failures. What do you call this? The Segway? Everybody, the guy, Mr. Cameron told us, you'll forget everything about bicycling. Bicycling is obsolete. Everybody will get a Segway. And then he started selling them at $5,000, and most of them he bought them himself. And the post office. And a few tour companies. So, okay, he made a buck of 2, but that's about it. He made a buck of 2. Never made billions, never changed anything. Or it'll become the iPod. Apple was nearly bankrupt. It was like 1% of Microsoft. Now Apple is like GM plus Toyota plus this plus that combined. The iPod started all of that. that darn little iPod had the technology of all the i products that followed it. But the iPod saved Apple and then all the rest. Near term, as we said, automated trucking, automated buses, several things coming our way. So let me go, Pau, and perhaps take your questions because we also have other things. Thank you. Any questions, or do we have time for questions?
We have time for questions.
Okay.
I got one. Well, on that bridge in Pearl Harbor, does it comes from like West Lock or somewhere, and then it would actually have to go across the military base?
It's mostly the airport.
On the surface?
It's mostly the airport. If I can find the this one. Let's find the map for a second. Where was it?
Right there, yeah.
Come on. It's acting up. There you go. Okay, I think the route, yeah, there's the route. A little short here, but the route is going from Iroquois Point across. This part is essentially, as you see, is not even part of the base, it's mostly greenery. Here is a part of the base that we may have to reroute around it or go underneath. For a long part is the golf course. The golf course is the easiest part, right? You do a cut and cover, so you lose the use of the golf course for about a year, and at the end of it is cut and cover tunnel, very quick construction, and then you cover it and you have back your golf course. And here you need a mini tunnel to protect the runway. This is an active runway, so we cannot have cars here. We got to go under and pop up at Lagoon Drive. Lagoon Drive pre-exists, so and it's very wide. So all of that is Lagoon Drive. Lagoon Drive and the golf course is 2/3 of the difficulty, plus the deep tunnel under Iroquois Points.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like libertarians, why aren't some of these ideas publicized?
Well, you know, when the Rail EIS came out, this route was part of the options that because of Navy opposition and technical difficulties, they dismissed it in one paragraph. It was an alternative that they never looked at it. Because if they looked at it in detail, as you see, the travel times here are so ridiculously long that nothing else can win. I mean, even if you have the fastest train in the world, you cannot beat 11 minutes to downtown from Iroquois Point. Yeah. And then, you know, automatically, you know, you have to believe your numbers and say all the other alternatives are garbage. We got to do this one. That's why they were very quick to. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, and then I think we're done. So start with John.
Yeah. Hey, John.
The problems with the import 85% of everything.
Yeah.
And then you didn't mention the Jones Act. Would you make any comments regarding that?
Jones Act is actually raising mostly the prices. It doesn't have to do with the percentage. Jones Act is a impedance. So it raises the prices. I think it's not going to change the percentage, but it's going to change how affordable the cost of goods are. Yeah, you're correct about that. Yeah.
My question feels very, very awkward because it probably has a politically and possibly incorrect answer. And it would
You've
leave
come
you
to the right
speculating.
place.
But where in the hell has all of this money really gone? Why is it such a big deal, boondoggle for politicians to totally blow this much money out their ass? We have looked at billions of dollars of non-solution.
Right.
That has just been a great way to spend money and make the city look really ugly, shut down businesses, inconvenience everyone, and not serve but a minority of the population to get a 2% change.
Right.
What's in it for them?
What's in it for
them?
them? Because the rail is the monetary re-election campaign vehicle for the Democratic Party. When you have all these billions circulating in the economy, look at the levels of
So
contribution.
they're basically looking at moving money around rather than creating real benefit.
That's right, 100%.
Political-
It's a complete political solution.
It's a financial stimulus.
Yes.
It's kind of like the New Deal.
Yes. That's
Doesn't
right.
do anything.
That's
but
right.
It, but it basically is a lot of financial masturbation.
That's right.
That's right.
That's all it is.
It is. And in fact, because I need to finish a comment. If you can remember the title, there is a very famous actually article, scientific article, not book. It's called Bootleggers, Baptists, and Enterprising Politicians out of the University of Utah. Bootleggers, Baptists, and Enterprising Politicians. Bootleggers are your developers, your manufacturers, they want to sell you something. Baptists are the environmentalists, and enterprising politicians are the mufis. They all get together, they create their money cabal, and the rest of us, the 96% or more, get screwed in the way. And that's the way the world works. They have figured it out. And in fact, they did the paper, had nothing to do with Honolulu Rail. Most cities and most projects work like that. They stick it to the population, in some places better than others because they do more productive projects, such as big bridges, big airports and all. But still, there is a
The
special
contractors
cabal that
win.
gets today. Yeah.
The unions win.
Special interests, yes, the big players, the bootleggers. They have something to tell you. Baptists, the ones that they go door to door believing that this is the good solution, and the enterprising politicians that bring everything together.
Thank you.
One more.
Yeah.
I think many of us would like to share this excellent PPT with their friends.
Sure.
Is there any way we can get hold of it? or-
Yeah, you can have, I'll send you the PDF.
Okay.
I'll send it to Joe, yeah, and he recorded
We
it.
take care of that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Uncle Joe is reliable.
Yeah.
And we want to thank Panos for his
Yeah,
excellent
thank you very much.
presentation.